How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, sorry about the delay. I just had to do
You're good.
something really quickly. All right, okay, cool. Yeah,
I
so
disagree with you on some stuff.
disagree or agree?
Disagree.
Okay, yeah,
But
go on.
just before I get there, I want to clarify a few things. I've been in the red pill space, and I know there's crossover with different groups. People tell me I'm black pill. I don't really know. Black pill, though, what confuses me is there's some groups that are like the face raiders. Then you have the MGTOW guys. Can you explain to me how black pill split up and stuff?
I would say MGTOW is more like red pill, to be honest. MGTOW, when I hear MGTOW, I more think of like fine wine cope, which I just think no black pillar could ever agree with. If a black pillar really believes that men peak after 30, then they're completely deluded, and they're definitely not black pill. Like that's a MGTOW trait, in my opinion. You know, because MGTOW is like the whole idea that women want to use men for their money, and you know, as men, you know, age, that they age like fine wine because they acquire more status, more resources, and then all of these women start coming out of the woodwork, which I just don't see as true, to be honest.
So red pill believes game over looks, and then black pill is looks over game, right?
I would say there's different like subcategories within the red pill though. So you've got some red pillars who believe in like game. These are more like the PUA types who, you know, they think that no matter what you look like, no matter how poor or rich you are, like if you just do 10,000 approaches, bro, and you have the right confidence and social skills, then you're going to be able to attract any women. And then you've got more like the MGTOW guys who I would say, and these aren't just like MGTOW, there's also like other red pillars who believe in this, who, you know, like fresh and fit and stuff. I just hate the whole age like fine wine cope. Like it's not to say that there isn't an element of truth to it, but I've thought of a new catchphrase that chasing money equals chasing single mums.
Really?
Like if you want to like, you know, money max and you think that money is going to lead to more options,
It does.
then it might in some cases, but
it does in the stats too. Money maps on actually to the amount.
Yeah, but I would say that the quality of those women is going to be quite low, and a lot of them are going to be chasing a beta box. So like if you're a single mum, then yeah, your financial position is quite screwed and you're going to need the money. So that's why you got to marry the, you know, less attractive rich guy. But if a girl's at college, like, and bearing in mind that like college age girls are their prime, and you know they've already got loads of daddy's money paying the bills, and they have all care in the world. Like, you know, they're not working. Most girls in university don't even understand the real value of money because they've never had to work a day in their life. So they don't know where a pound goes.
Old of you, wheat waffles. What the fuck?
So they just they don't really like, you know, care or understand about, you know, money. And
do you really believe that?
Do
you really believe that?
I open my eyes and I've seen the data. If you, in fact, both agree with what I'm saying. If you go to like a college, most girls are dating some, you know, guy their age, the best looking guy. They don't care if he's got money or not because they don't care for money at that time. Like, you know, what are they fussed about money?
Okay. So you're saying like relativity, like whoever's around them, they're kind of dating.
Yeah.
Right?
And even the data confirms, like, in fact, if you bring up a world map of the average age gap by a country, the more developed a country is and the more progressive a country is as well. So like the less income inequality a country has, then the closer the age gap is between marriages. And I think that signifies how
hold up. There's people in the Middle Eastern countries that justify pedophilia by marrying young girls that are below the age of 18. About that. So that's
I'm not talking about those. I'm not talking about screwed up countries with like messed up cultures. I'm talking about in countries like
world map, you know?
No. What I'm talking about is like, you know, Eastern Europe is going to be less developed than Western Europe. Africa is going to be a lot less developed than, you know, all of Europe, and Asia is going to be less developed. Same with South America. In these countries, they're a lot more likely to marry a man who is like 10 years older than them. And I would say the reason for that is because those men who are in their 30s are more likely to have more resources and more money. And this is why you see that most of these red pill guys and most of these fine wine copers, a lot of them are in like these guys are like well over 50. So what do they know? Well, they were in the dating market like 30 years ago. And obviously living standards were a bit lower in that time. But
I understand where you're coming from with that, but one of the big things in red pill is that the dating hasn't changed.
Dating's massively changed.
No,
it's changed more in the last 15 years than it has in the previous 100 years before that. For one reason, online dating. Online dating has single-handedly shifted everything from the money, the person.
Jesus.
You're the one with the energy drink in your hands, it seems
It's
like.
actually alcohol. I'm like, Jesus. No, but there's a couple things I want to say to that. Number one, in the world, the number of people who have a 10-year age gap or more is below 4%. It gets even more below in the United States. I know that for a fact. Number two, women, when it's reversed in terms of age gap, so you have an older woman and younger guys, that's really big in Hawaii. I guess Hawaii is the number one and the only place where there's older women. I thought that was interesting. I figured that out the other day. Number three, you said something like, I can't remember, something with the fine wine copers before that, though. Shit, what'd you say?
No, I disagree with them. That their ringleader is like over 50.
You don't like Tomassi? Daddy Tomassi?
I don't like Tomassi and I don't like Cooper either.
Really?
I think the whole audience is just their whole audience is the opposite of mine. I think that most of his takes are garbage, and I think that like he's one of the lowest SMV guys in the space. Like
who?
Cooper or Rollo, both of them, because they're just old. Like if they made a dating profile, the only chance that they would have with modern women today is like sugar dating. The only chances that they would have with women under the age of 25 is sugar dating. There's no way that a under 25-year-old woman would actually date them seriously without money involved. That's just never going to happen. But
Wheat Waffles, you just said that there's age gaps of 10 years or more. So which is it? Are you saying like 30, 40?
No. So I'm saying in third world countries, you're more likely to see those age gaps. And that's because the, poorer women, in order for them to escape poverty,
they get married for economy.
I'm not talking about those countries.
But you are, because they're third world countries. Correct? I would say that the Middle East is third world. There you go. Not all of it, but there's certainly parts in the world at the moment because they got the big oil money. But I'm not talking about those countries. I'm talking about just your like there's 200 countries in the world. Only about 15 of them are in the Middle East. So that's like less than 10% of the sample. I'm talking about most other countries. I could even they're Islamic countries, I'll tell you that. Maybe they're not Middle East. I don't know exactly where the religion is, but that is strictly Islamic countries. I know that for a fact. I just did a whole thing on child marriage. But regardless, I'll hear you. It's still evidence. I just don't know if it's applicable when we're talking about online dating or in the West. It's like a third world country. It's like very different. But most people get married at the same age.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying is relevant. And that's why I'm saying that looks and age is becoming such more of a big factor. And have you seen that chart which shows the age that women and men find the opposite sex as the most attractive? And men pretty much all say like 18 to 23-year-olds, like irrespective of their age. But then women almost all say their age match, apart from when it comes to women over 35, they actually prefer younger men. So like, I'm pretty sure.
I know. You're the first person I've heard actually interpret it correctly. And you know that the age that they prefer men is no later than like 30. Is that the same study?
I think so. Yeah. It's that chart where it's like got the flat line at the bottom for like the men's viewings of women. And then it's the
OkCupid.
Yeah. Then it's got like the staircase of, for when women are looking at men.
I was like, you're saying women 18 through 49 prefer men at 50. Or even 18 through 24.
I know. Reading the data correctly, because the data doesn't say that at all. If anything, it's most saying women want age-matched men.
Yeah.
It is. There is like a couple exceptions there, such as the over 35 women, but even then they're only dating down.
The men that go for women that are typically older are younger men. That's been a thing forever. I've worked in nightclubs, so maybe I'm biased in terms of that, but I've seen most of the older women get hit on by 21-year-olds, typically. It's a little crazy. But yeah, I know. I saw your nightclub video and I vehemently disagree with it.
Oh, really? What nightclub video are you talking about? I made that one like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and your views might have changed. Like, I don't hold people to views a year plus or whatever. You can clarify if you will, but you say that online dating and then meeting in nightclubs are the top two worst places because nightclubs, you have to cold approach, which by the way, I've dated a guy that cold approached me for about a year. who is also ginger. You said because it's mainly cold approaches, and you gave like 10 reasons maybe why women go to nightclubs, and meeting men was not on there. Something like
I think nightclubs are potentially the worst way to meet women. And the main reason is because it's damage maxing. Damage maxing means that you're going to be attracting a lower quality, a lower caliber of women. You're not going to find wife material in a nightclub. I don't think any of this is
that's a cope, because if you had two girls and one was a 10 and one was a 7, and you found out that one of them enjoyed dancing and she went to nightclubs, you would pick that one. And it's such a cope when I hear men say, no, I'd pick the 7. It's like, no, you wouldn't. Okay. If you could have a chance with either one, it wouldn't matter when you think about it, right?
I think you're vastly, vastly underestimating the connotations of what it means when a woman goes to a nightclub. Like the entitlement and the alcohol and the lifestyle. Women that go to nightclubs, they're the kind of women that every other week they got a new boyfriend, or like they're seeing a new guy, so like they're making out with somebody else. Like this is the kind of women that I see at a nightclub, and just the whole framing of it. UK. Sorry,
maybe that's in the UK.
Potentially, but that's what I have observed in at least this country. Maybe it's different in America, but I think those are the connotations.
I don't know. Because most men in the world, and Rollo says this, I agree with this, have never properly vet a woman ever. No matter his status, no matter money, no matter if he's hot. Most guys have never actually correctly vetted a woman. So when you say that the nightclubs breed women who are not wife material, that's fine. But can you explain it? Like,
what is wife material? I would say if she has, well, obviously, like, you know, there's the ones that I'm not doing this necessarily in order, but I will eventually say it. So obviously I think it's relevant if a woman has a low body count. Yeah, this has been harped on 100 times before, so I can't be bothered to just repeat what's been said on 1,000 different streams before this one. So I think that is a relevant point, but I won't go into detail about it.
Well, you know that people in the 70s and 80s had higher body counts than they do today, right? We know that? Or we don't?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, because a lot of times when I talk to these guys, they get caught up in the whole MGTOW sort of TikTok compilation of women that are like, where are all the good men? And they think that all these women are hoes and all this shit. But like the average body count for a woman is 7, and the average like lifetime. And then the average lifetime partners for a man is 9. So, you know what I mean? It's like, but back then I think it went up by 1 for each person respectfully.
Oh, so it's not too different then. It's still like reasonably similar numbers.
Right, but you would think that it's high, right? I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was. But then I think that there's always differences in like the way that the data is collected, and you never know if it's entirely accurate, because if I had to guess,
don't mention any other stat then, you know?
If I had to guess, I would have estimated it would be higher today, just because the culture's changed, and you know, it's perpetuating this idea that women are free to do whatever they like and they can have sex with a bunch of different guys. It's empowering for them.
Well,
you know,
that doesn't take away the biological fear of what sex brings. Like there's a lot more consequences that come from it for women. Their body changes. The man can leave. Those are the top 2. You got 9 months to go through. A lot of women, when they come out of it, develop new health problems, like after pregnancy. It's no joke. So my question is, how is that different? You know, like if the threat is still there, how can we say that women are even more promiscuous? Maybe
well,
the top.
Some of the threats aren't there, because obviously
you don't think so.
Well, if a woman's on birth control, then you know the threat of pregnancy isn't there.
Oh, yes, there is. Oh, yes, there is. You can't get rid of thousands and thousands of years of lizard brain. It's still there. Maybe for the younger people that grew up with it. But
as far as my knowledge goes on most modern birth controls, they are like 99% effective. And I don't even know if they're just saying 99%, you know, just because nothing's ever certain. It's like how antibacterial says it's 99.9% kills germs, but that basically just means 100%.
Sure, but people aren't coming inside of each other. You know, they're using condoms and that sort of thing too. So I don't know what, like, people always say this birth control thing, and it's like, well, people are using different types. You know, the people that don't do it are people in relationships, right? So the risk is within that couple, but even then, it's probably not that high if you're dating somebody.
I don't know. I just think it's contextual. It depends on, you know, what method the couple or like short-term one-night stand is using. It depends on those factors.
But I have a question. I kind of want to switch gears. If I asked you how many, I'm going to ask you a different race, and then I want you to guess how many of them have kids in the US. I always do US. I didn't think to do UK, but they're relatively the same if I'm not mistaken. Because I'll tell you more about it after. But how many white men do you think have kids?
How many white men
out
in
of 100?
America?
Yeah, out of 100%, if you had to guess.
By what age?
It's young. Let me double check. I think it's like below 24. It's like 15 to 24. It's young.
Okay, I'm guessing it's going to be quite low then, because the average age that a man has a kid is like 30. So I'm guessing that the number of men that have kids between 15 and 24 is going to be like...
I'm sorry, it's ages 20 to 29.
Okay, then for that, I would estimate it would be about 30%.
Okay, and then what about black men?
Probably 45%.
Okay, so right now that's, you said, what was the first one? Did you say 30?
Just say 30 and 45.
Okay, then we have Asian and Hispanic. So those are the last two. What do you think Asian would have?
For Asian, I would say 25, and for Hispanic, I would say 35.
It's 21.2% of white men. And then for black men, it's 24.9%. Asian is 12.4%. And then Hispanic men are 29.4%. So those are the men who have children. It's relatively close aside from the Asian men. But my follow-up question to that is, what the hell is JBW and how is that applicable at all?
JBW means just be white. And it's basically the theory that if you're light-skinned as a man, then dating is easier for you and you're viewed as higher SMV to other men of different ethnicities. And the data is grounded in that, like, if there's a Tinder profile, if there's like 4 Tinder profiles, all of like a 5 out of 10 man, one of them is a white guy, one is an Asian guy, one is a black guy, and one is a Hispanic guy, then the white guy should get more matches.
Is this a study or is this what you hypothesize, like you think?
There's not been that exact one, but there have been similar ones. Like one of them did a 5 out of 10 white guy versus a 5 out of 10 Asian guy. And the data showed in that was that the white guy got a lot more matches than I think the main reason is because of Asian women's dating preferences.
For white men?
No, there's 2 things going on here. So number one is that Asian women are seen as attractive in society and Asian men aren't.
Okay.
So Asian women are generally viewed as more attractive than Asian men. Okay. And the second thing is that Asian women are a lot more than happy to date out of their ethnicity, while Asian men aren't. So a lot of Asian men want to just date an Asian woman and they don't have the opportunity to date a white woman. But a lot of Asian women, they will date white men. Yeah. So that means that the dating game is essentially rigged against Asian men because like the pool of Asian women is a lot less.
I agree with you, but for a different reason. Asian women in their culture, so at home or overseas, they teach the relationship to serve the man. Like, not patriarchy, fuck that. This is like obey. Like, it's to a way higher degree. Do you think that maybe Asian women don't want to date Asian men for that reason? I feel like that would be the main reason that women, like the Asian women, date out of the race. But the men, why would they? Of course, they're going to date Asian women because they get to be the king of the house.
Why do you say that Asian women? Say that point again about why you think Asian women date white men.
I think Asian women date white men because of equality. Like, the relationship is more of a partnership. But otherwise,
why would that be?
Well, I just said, like, Asian women and Asian men in the household or even overseas, but in America, if you are raised as an Asian woman, you're raised to literally cook, clean. This goes beyond, though, what we think of when we think of patriarchy. This is the man is literally doing nothing. It's not anything. So the girl has to cook, clean, serve him. Then when it comes to like old parents or something, the woman is the caregiver just by default. And anything that the man says goes. They're more likely to cheat. The rates that Asian men pay for sex is so high. I don't have the stat on it, but I remember we watched a video on it. But if I was an Asian woman and I wanted a free meal ticket out of that lifestyle, because it's not what I want to do, I would date an American guy, black or white. You know what I mean? Like, why? You're signing yourself up to be SLAVE, you know? They like cater to them at a very young age. So I'd be curious to look over that, because I think that might be at play, if anything.
Okay, I've got no idea about those factors that you mentioned, because I don't know any Asian relationships or marriages.
There's a documentary. I can send it to you. I thought it was really, obviously that's interesting. But
I would say that a lot of it to do is with attractiveness as well, because generally Asian women are just seen as more attractive, whereas Asian men aren't viewed as conventionally attractive.
But Asian women are also like over sexualized, right? So you have to decipher between a man that's seeing you as a pair of tits to a guy that actually wants to be long term with you. That's why we have like fetishize. What is it? Somebody want to say below? It's like they fetishize Asian women. There's something for it though. There's a word. They do it for like any minority, but Asian women is probably the most talked about in terms of media and how they're displayed in pornography. Like hentai and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's like, it's not like anime stuff.
You're more likely to date a man that has a porn addiction. So there's things that come with that. The porn isn't necessarily the issue. It's the byproduct. They're less likely to participate in sex, less likely to get it up type shit. But I don't know. I feel like that would be at play. I feel like there's a lot of factors at play. I'm not asking you to agree with me, just opposing alternative beliefs. But I wanted to talk about the black men. So are the black men or the Asian men the lowest in terms of like the JBW theory?
I would say Asian men, for the two reasons that I've mentioned, are seen as lower SMV than black men.
Interesting. But Asian men are also, there's more Asian male models, right?
I'm not sure about that, actually. I don't know. I don't know the data to hand.
Yeah, there is. I don't know the data either, but I used to do modeling when I was younger. And I remember there were, well, at least from what I saw, there was more Asian. I don't think I ever saw a black male. I don't think I ever did.
Think of corn studios. Like, you know, there's obviously a lot of white male actors. There's a lot of black male actors. I don't think I've ever seen an Asian male actor.
Yeah, but who's dating a porn star? Do you want to date one? Because I don't. Like
rawest form, you know, because you're removing all other factors of like dating and, you know, personality. It's purely based on looks. So I think that looking at corn, like there's a reason why there's more blonde female actors than there are like brunettes. I think that is pretty accurate evidence to show that like blondes are seen as higher SMV for women than other hair colors. I
have a very interesting thing that I actually have proof of something for you if you want to see it. They did a study amongst men and they had a girl with brown hair, red hair, and blonde hair. And all the men, when asked, who do you think's the most attractive? They all rated the brunette as the most attractive, which as a bartender, I thought that was shocking because most blondes would get approached. So then
I saw that as well, but it did say later in the study that they would be more likely to approach the blonde.
Have you seen this guy on TikTok?
Yeah, I saw it on
Do you know his name? It's like QV.
Yeah, I don't know, something. Coves or something.
Yeah, so then when they looked at men's behavior, they were more likely to approach the blonde girl. And then I think they guessed that it was because of negative stereotypes, like blonde girls are more fun, approachable, and more promiscuous or something. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, I think it was along those sorts of lines.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what we think men want, it's who they approach, you know, right? So I don't think I would say that in pornography, surprisingly, I think they showcase each hair color like the same.
Hmm.
Maybe blonde, because of the blonde there's a blonde category and a redhead category. I don't know if there's a brunette one. I'm assuming there probably is.
Yeah.
The Asian girls have brunette hair. I've never seen a blonde one. Like,
unless she's dyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I forgot why we were even talking about the hair color. So you do face ratings, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd say there's like two main subcategories of black pill. So there's looks maxers and there's like just the nihilists, like / defeatists. So the looks maxers are the ones who they realize the importance of looks and they know that it's the most important aspect of dating and that women, you know, mostly want a guy who is good looking. And then the looks maxers, they want to improve their looks as much as possible in order to increase their value in the dating market. And then the fetus guys of the black pill, they're less concerned about looks maxing and they're just essentially saying like dating is so rigged and it's so screwed up and looks is the only thing that matters. So there's no point trying. There's no point putting any work. Looks maxing doesn't even work. I'm never going to be able to improve my height or face. So I might as well just quit dating.
So you're saying that you think that you can maximize it, but there's other guys that are more hopeless, doomer, if you will. Is that what
I would say like they doomer types. Okay. I would say I'm more like of a looks maxer. So, you know, I understand and agree that looks are the most important aspect of dating and that men are massively discriminated based on their looks. However, there's still like, as long as you're like at least a 5 out of 10, or even if you're like a 4, but you could looks max to a 5, then there's still like hope for you in dating. It is still really rigged against you, and a 5 out of 10 woman is going to have a 10 times easier time compared to a 5 out of 10 man. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's over for the 5 out of
I vehemently disagree with all of that. All of it. I've dated some ugly motherfuckers. It's not about me, but I know a lot of people. What medium ugly? Have you heard this phrase?
I have, but okay. I have a
what
question.
Does that mean? They're still like above
a 7 or something? Who are ugly, then why aren't you dating them now?
So that's like all roads lead to Rome. Okay, most relationships end up breaking off, right? Most relationships that most people that you date, you probably are not going to end up with them. So I don't know, because they dumped me. How's that? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not a logical answer or evidence to anything, because people break up for other reasons. It has nothing to do with the way that they first attracted you, right? Just something to think about. Also, when it comes to nightclubs, you said something, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you said that a woman that is below a 5 can easily get sex from anybody, kind of a thing. Something like that. I don't know if you've been to a nightclub where there's fat girls, but they are treated like the absolute pieces of shit scum. They're ignored when guys are like, can I get 5 shots for this group of girls? There's a fat friend like, hello, me too. And he's like, no, for these groups, they don't even recognize them. I mean, it's bad. It is funny to you, but it's also funny to me when you guys are comparing chin sizes. So, but when we talk about how like fat girls are treated like that, how can you sit here and say that they get more matches? They don't. Maybe on online dating, I'll give you that. But like, if you think that that's where most people are meeting, I don't think it is.
Wait, did you say that fat girls get more matches than thin girls?
I said that you said they're more likely to get matches from, they can get sex from any guy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the ugliest dudes treat them like they don't exist.
No, that's just not true. That's just not true.
I'm telling you from my experience.
No, it's not.
Before I even entered like the red pill space, I was making bartending videos, and this was a huge topic that nobody likes to address. It is absolutely true. Maybe not in the UK. I haven't worked there, but I've worked across the US. I've worked in Las Vegas. I've worked in Chicago. I've worked in Houston, Scottsdale. It doesn't matter. They treat them like they don't exist, almost like worse than the help. Horrible, though. Absolutely. Like, men will punch fat women there when they're intoxicated.
All right.
No, I'm serious. I've had to do the police reports. I'm the one that witnessed it. I'm telling you.
Okay. Well, in my experience, I've seen every single fat guy that I know in my personal life is single and is not even close to being in a relationship. Like their dating life is non-existent.
How tall
There
are
are a lot of the overweight women in my life who are in relationships, and they're with like reasonably fit guys. Like,
so,
you know,
yeah, I know. No, I know.
Bodies,
This is actually crazy. We talked about this in the nightclub, that the only guys that would approach the girls maybe sometimes are like the ripped ass guys. And then a guy told me behind the bar, it's because there's guys that go to the gym specifically to fuck fat women, so they have to pick them up, something like that. It's a thing. I swear to God.
Okay, and the other thing, every day at the end of school, when you know kids were being picked up by their parents, I always saw the same thing. It was always some overweight woman with some skinny guy.
Well, their moms.
Always right? That. Moms? It was always some overweight woman.
Yeah, but they had the baby. Wheat waffles. They had a baby. Yeah.
Obviously, there's such thing as baby weight, but you know, like the correlation was that stark that it can't all just be pinned up to baby weight. I think a lot of these women would have been overweight before they had given birth.
No.
The skinny guys realize, because if you're an average guy, like, you know, you're getting no matches on Tinder. Every guy's been in this position in their life before. You're getting no matches on Tinder, and then Tinder, the, you know, swiping is giving you nothing. And then you find yourself in like overweight chicks territory. A lot of these average guys end up finding themselves, you know what, I'm getting no matches. I might as well start swiping right on these overweight women now. And these are like at least average guys who are doing this. You
know, I've talked to people who worked at like the dating app. They were like reps and shit for it. And I was like, why is there a phenomenon where if you download certain apps, you'll get a bunch of really hot people, but then in other cases you won't? And they said that who you get to show up in your list of people is directly correlated with how you like pictures, how you message, your response time. You're saying that guys don't even get messages. That's fine. I'll agree with you there. But it has more to do with how often you open the app, how often you're on the app. You get a score of 1 or 2. So would you say that maybe the reason that some of these men are not getting matches is because, one, they're not paying for it, they're not on it often, and the women that they do see, they don't message back?
Those factors do come into the equation somewhat, but the main factor that goes
that's the only thing.
I could show you a dozen Tinder. The main factor
those are skewed because it's your phone. It's your phone. It's the same person.
No, please. The main factor that determines whether a guy's going to get matches on Tinder or not is how attractive he is and what the quality of the photo is. I could show you all of my friends. I could show you guys that I've spoken to. I could show you my community. The ones who look better, the ones who get good, that have got good photos, get way more matches. The ugly guys get no matches. That is just how it is. The main factor.
No, I agree with you. I'm sure.
All of these other factors are a lot less relevant. Like, you know, the amount you're swiping, the amount you're opening the app. Even if you pay for the app, if you are ugly as hell and you're paying, you're still going to get no matches. The main factor is looks. It is at least 90% of the equation, but they're minuscule in compared to having some 3 out of 10 guy versus some Chad. The Chads are the only guys getting all of the matches on these dating apps. So as a bartender, I've never seen a Chad in my life. Based on what you call a Chad, can you describe kind of like, are you saying people above 8 hot have probably gotten a modeling contract or something? And then I wouldn't say like they have to have a modeling contract, but are you sure you've been to a bar? Because I go to bars like every week. I see at least 5 or 6 Chads. Every single one. That wasn't sarcastic. I swear to God. You even I told you that I worked in one, didn't I? So yeah, I know you said that you worked in one. So if you really want to go there, Wheat Waffles, if you want to go there, you have no business rating men's faces because you don't fucking date men. Last time I checked, you have no business telling them to go to get plastic surgery. I'll tell you right now, most things can be changed with braces. You don't need veneers. I've worked in modeling industry. I've worked in the beauty industry, hair, makeup for men. I'm telling you right now, you have no business to do it. So if you want to tell me that I don't see it, I'd like to know where your credentials are. Can we stick to one topic at a time? Because I go out to a bar at least once a week. Okay. And I see 5 to 6 Chads. So you're either vastly underrating most guys, or you've never seen a Chad. I've been working there for 11 years. Either you're just not paying attention to any of the guys that are there, or it's the guys in America are just so much more ugly. but I go out to a bar at least once a week. I see at least 5 or 6 chads. These are guys who are like 6'4", weigh 90 kg and lean, perfect jawline, full head of hair. These guys are chads, and I see them.
Here's a big thing. Have you heard of the term female gaze?
Yes, I have heard of the term female gaze.
We don't like that masculine man, and we don't like the muscle thing. I'm telling you.
These guys aren't muscular.
You just said he had a perfect jaw.
It's mainly their height, their jaw, and their hair that's making it. It's like, they're not even like jacked, but
most men are not tall.
I've seen the tall guys at these bars and at these clubs.
They're usually the bartender if they're anybody, and they can't like take your girl. You know what I mean?
I promise right now.
Will you screenshot some?
If you want to bet, I've even got a video on my phone. I'm pretty sure. It would take me 10 minutes to do this.
Okay.
I could go down to the local pub right now, live on the stream.
Do it, live stream it right now, baby.
If you promise to bet $100,
okay,
$100 each way, would you do that? I could go to the nearest pub.
But so I have to find them a Chad, or is this based on your rating system?
I have to find one.
Okay, so it's on Wheat Waffles has to say if he's fuckable, is what I'm gathering, right?
If I go down there right now with my phone and I take a photo with the first Chad that I see, then are you going to pay me $100? This will be the quickest $100 you would ever lose in your life. Well, are you going to do the bet or not?
I told you. Hey, bud, calm down. And I will admit that I'm wrong. You don't know who you're talking to. I'm actually very, very agreeable. Telling you, that's fine. If you want to do it right this second, okay, we could do it right this second.
You're going to do $100 then?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, baby, I'm sure. But I don't know if you want to do it because you're going to pick somebody who's probably working at the bar. And that doesn't count, okay?
No, I wouldn't. I would just take a photo of the first Chad that I see.
Okay. Define to me, like, you're saying his height was a thing. I don't know how that works. Women I know date guys 5'9" and below. So what do you mean by height?
It'd be a combination of their height, their face, and just like all of the features to do with like face, like hair, jawline, lean, stuff like that.
Well, most guys are attractive, right?
Sorry?
Most guys are attractive.
No, they're not. Most guys are average to below average.
Nope. That's average guy is like that's an opinion. I'm telling you right now, most men are average. Good looking.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're not attractive. They're average to below average. There's a big difference.
We're average. What do you mean?
Average is not good. If you're an average guy on Tinder, then you're not going to get any matches.
Jesus. That's a horrible thing to say.
Have you seen my Tinder experiment of an average guy on in 3 months? He got 3 dates.
Okay, but that's online. But most men are having issues online.
They are. But only average guys and below average guys.
No, all of them are. Even the Chads.
No, that's not true. Because I've spoken to Chads, and there was one guy. He said that in 3 months he went on a complete rampage. He had slept with, on average, a new girl every single 3 nights. So you just believe a man who tells you this? I could believe it because I saw his photos. Okay. If I didn't see his photos, then I'd think that he's just lying and, blowing smoke. And, I'm telling you right now, I've talked about this phenomenon on my page. And so I encourage you to look. You should do a video on this. As a bartender, I have overheard guys saying that they fucked certain girls that they never did. I'm not talking to your boyfriend. I'm not talking to anybody. Come to find out, it was the guy who followed me on Instagram. I approached him at the bar because he came in as a guest. And I was like, why did you tell people that we fucked? This is my first time meeting you. So it begs the question, how often are men doing that? Well, I started to pay attention to guys that said it more. And a lot of guys are not fucking the amount that they're telling you are. They have a reason to lie. They do because they want to be of higher status and they want to show that they're more dominant than you. Take the bet. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'll take it. But so, like, do you actually believe a guy who's... Well, that guy's just sent you $100. That's... I told you we could do it already. We already agreed. The issue is that your Chad doesn't exist. So that's fine. It does exist. It doesn't. Most guys are... Okay. Why is it that in any other animal kingdom, men are the most attractive? Honestly, have you thought about this? Because hear me out. A lion and a lioness. The hair, right? A rooster and the hen. Rooster's colorful. Okay. You got the peacock and the female peacock. Not ugly.
Not ugly. The cardinal and the female cardinal, he's the good-looking one. He's the colorful one. The duck. Who's the better-looking duck? Wheat waffles. The drake. Okay, so while you might have this distorted belief that like men appear on this level of 1 through 5 is whatever, ugly, 5 and 6 is average, and then anything above that is like arguably Chads, 10 is only Chads or something. That's not true. And I think the way that you guys view it is due to like media, social media, the unfair standards they put on men. Women don't like muscular dudes. And there's men that go to therapy because they have disorders that they think that they have to be buff. It's like body dysmorphic disorder, but with muscles. So I don't know. Sometimes I think that men think that women want this certain thing. I'll give you another example. When you tell me what women want, it is equivalent to women on Fresh and Fit telling Myron that men want girls that are educated. It's the same thing. You're telling me what I want in a guy when you're rating them on the scale. And I'm telling you right now, the 10s don't exist. Maybe on Instagram where they can edit it, but it's not accurate. Most men are bald in the nightclubs. They got to take their hats off when they come in and get a coat checked. You know what I mean? Like this idea that men are going to be like above a 5, good looking in the nightclubs. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not real.
It is, because I've seen them.
10s don't exist. Not your 10. I'm telling you. Maybe there's model looking dudes. I've seen a really good looking dude in the Netherlands working at like a kiosk. I was like, that guy is the most attractive man I've ever seen. So yeah, maybe I've seen one Chad there. That's why I said maybe it's in the UK because you guys have more like you're closer to the Nordic countries. But I'm telling you right now, you don't find those guys in a nightclub. You really don't.
You definitely do, because there's even like the main bar that I usually go to. I even call it Chad Central, just because there's like always Chads there.
Are they strippers or something? Like,
no, this is just like a regular bar, and because it's like close to a university as well, there's always these Chads, always.
Can you describe to me what a 10 is? Because maybe I have a misunderstanding. I'm going off of like the photos you've shown on 1 through 10.
So these guys are tall. They have a good face.
No, like their face. What's a good face?
Like
good teeth.
Yeah, of course. Like good symmetry, hairline, good jawline, good eye area.
So it has all of those things? All of those things? That,
basically. Yeah.
Everything? Okay. Most men do not have their teeth fixed.
Well, it doesn't have to be everything, but as long as it's like the majority.
So it does have, okay. So overall, it has to be more or less those things.
Yes.
Okay. So then a 9, if we're going off of just face, it's same thing, just more or less. What can they have different? I know you've said like they have to have certain amount of features. Like, can they have a big nose? Do you know what I'm trying to get at?
As long as it's not huge.
Wait, Waffles, do you think I'm going up to men with a to measure?
Of course, but you can just tell by looking at someone straight away. Okay,
so you do it on pictures, and I wanted to get into this. As somebody who worked with photographers, I've worked in studio lighting, natural lighting, and I've done agency modeling. And then I also have done like your average Instagram hoe. Okay. But men too. There's this thing that happens when you take a photo and it distorts the face based on the lens. You know that.
Right. Okay.
So when you will pull photos from different guys, it's already like a tainted study because first of all, you cannot control for the angle that they're doing at it, right? You can't say, oh, that looks like a decently big nose. My nose is fucking huge. Doesn't look that big right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's so distorted that it would be disingenuous to say that you can give a guy a score based on that. Do you know what I mean? Just something to think about. I'm not trying to say that what you're doing is the worst thing in the world. I'm just trying to say that some of the beliefs that you have, they're almost not tangible. They're not malleable. Tori called me a 10 out of 10. I barely pull. Whatever. Tori called me a 10 out of 10. Thank you for the super chat. Keep your girl off OnlyFans, one chat at a time. Do you have any follow-up thoughts to what I'm saying? Because maybe I'm just talking to Lulu. Did I make you think?
I'm happy to move on to the next topic.
This is a great example of the lenses. You see how she looks different?
Of course,
Same
it's more
same
zoomed out.
close. But look how different it is. Look at the nose.
Because when you're closer up to the camera, your nose looks disproportionately bigger.
But even her eyes look different. Her hair looks different. Thanks, Ronnie. Do you think symmetrical faces or asymmetrical faces get more, are viewed more attractive, if you had to guess?
Well, obviously symmetrical faces.
No, it's inaccurate. It's asymmetrical.
Well, that's just not true.
Have you ever watched the guy on YouTube who will take half your face and then he'll flip it to see what
I know what you're talking about. I know what phenomenon you're talking about. That if it's like perfectly symmetrical, then that's not good. And you look slightly worse. And a tiny bit of asymmetry is a good thing. But it can't be like crazy asymmetrical.
Because you
can see, like, but no, I've never seen a person whose face is too symmetrical that it looks worse. But
really?
I've never seen that before, no.
Okay. That it looks worse? Models? You know, I feel like models would be almost to the perfect point, but they have something about them that's kind of odd. Maybe really round eyes, deep set eyes or something. How do you decide, like when you made your graph and you decided that, okay, this is going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How did you come up with that? Was that based on, did you ask people, what do you find the most attractive? Because it's not necessarily.
I've seen other YouTube videos of like who told about this, you know, 1 to 10 scale and stuff. And then I just sort of built upon those ideas.
Don't you think like looking at a bunch of girls' ex-boyfriends or like who they're dating would probably be more accurate?
Potentially, but there's always exceptions to the rule. Like just because a guy who's less attractive can date a more attractive girl, you have no idea about like how the power dynamics are in that relationship, like who's wearing the pants. And that's why so many of these relationships where the guy isn't as attractive as the girl end up failing, because the guy is punching and the girl realizes that she can do better. And other guys pick up on this as well. If a guy is less attractive, the other guys are way more likely to try to hit on his girlfriend because they think, you know, he doesn't deserve her. Like, you know, he's not as attractive as her. It's way more likely to happen.
I dated guys that were 5'2", 5'8", mostly. Like, I mean, I'm not the most attractive, but I've worked at nightclubs. I can look attractive with makeup on. It's just most of the girls I know, they date guys that look like, I don't know, the guy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like they're not these hot chads. I've never seen them. I'm telling you.
How many guys have you dated in your life? 8, and one of them was 5'2". Did you say?
Yes, he was a jockey. So he rode. Have you ever bet on horses?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's the one that rode the horse. You know.
Okay, yeah. Well, maybe you just are an outlier, because the vast majority of women, if they saw a guy was 5'2", they would instantly reject him.
Maybe 5'2". I might agree with you, but all the jockeys were pulling bitches left and right. So maybe it's just them. Maybe their status with it. I don't know. But I think it depends on where they live. I don't know if you think, do you follow geomaxing? Do you believe in the shit or no?
I do to some degree. I think, but I just never think it's like worth it unless you really are desperate.
You think that they shouldn't date at all? Wean waffles.
No, I'm saying that
moving.
Like I wouldn't consider it myself. Like maybe unless like the circumstance arose. So maybe in like 30 years time, and I really wanted to, you know, to start dating again, but I knew that it would just be terrible in the West. Then I might take advantage of geomaxing and go to a third world country and leverage
you're not ugly.
Status. Sorry?
You're not ugly.
Yeah, no, but that's why I said in 30 years time.
Oh, but I thought you get uglier with age.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, so in 30 years time, I'd be like 50 something. I'd consider it then.
Can I ask you something just personally? I'm a ginger, and we used to get bullied like no other. I've heard it's really bad for guys too. What was it bad when you were growing up, when it came to like middle school, high school? Did people bully you for having red hair?
I would say, like, it was never like to the point of bullying, but it was like the occasional remarks. And I would say it sort of peaked in the first couple years of high school when I was like 13, 14 or so. But then it like died down after that. I don't even.
Did you feel unattractive? I know I did. I used to look up blonde hair, like redhead that dyes hair blonde since I was 9. up until like 18, and then I dyed it blonde. And
I think I was a bit more insecure about it now, but honestly, I don't think I've had any remarks about my hair color in a negative way in like at least the last 2 years. Because I just think that nobody does it anymore. I don't think people care as much, or people are just like more, you know, mature and they develop manners. So even though they might have like internal biases or something, they're not in like school anymore where like, you know, because kids can be mean.
Yeah, they can. I just was wondering, like the boys sort of like girls, we got it pretty bad, but I feel like boys, there's always the stigma. You're hot for a ginger. I'm sure it was even worse for men. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I'd say guys have it worse than girls. Being ginger is actually similar to being Asian, because I think that a lot of ginger guys are happy to date ginger girls, similar to how a lot of Asian guys are happy to date Asian girls. But a lot of ginger girls don't want to date a ginger guy. And secondly, that ginger girls are usually seen as attractive, but ginger guys aren't on average. So I would say that it's similar to how Asian men and Asian
Waller, he's arguably attractive.
Yeah, he's even then. I think that the age pill is catching up with him. Like I think that he's past prime. He's top 1% for his age, but he would have no chance of getting a young virgin girl. There's just no way that's going to happen. No chance. Like honestly, if anyone thinks that I'm lying, I promise there's no way. Like if you're above 30. Your chances of like getting a woman with who's a virgin, or at the very least a low body count, is extremely low. Because
college is the biggest thing in my opinion.
If you're, it's not just that, but like, you know, like Justin Waller, he's in like his mid to late 30s. He might be able to date like 20-year-old girls, but they're definitely not going to be pure. They're going to have like, you know, a kink for older guys. And
why does it matter if he's not going to marry them? You know.
Well, because, you know, I hope that a lot of people are dating for long term and they're dating for relationships. So this is what I'm trying to say, is that I would not trade my position now for Justin Waller, even though he on paper would be higher SMV than me. He could get 10 times more hookups than me, and he's got 10 times more options. But I think that the quality of his options will be significantly lower in terms of purity. I think that he's, because of his age, if you're older, you're almost forced into dating women with higher body counts. There's just no way around it. As women get older, their body count goes up. And if you're an older guy, the only women that you're going to be able to date are either those your age, or if you are lucky enough to be like a top 1% guy like Justin Waller for his age, the women that you're dating who are 10, 15, 20 years below you, they're going to have a kink for older guys. And all of those women, you know, have high body counts. That's just what I've observed. So
I think women go for the
20-year-old virgins are completely out of his market. There's zero chance that he would be able to get a...
Well, they're probably out of his market because he's not in those spaces. If she, let's say she's not in college, how are you going to find this girl? You know, I think it has more to do with...
Well, you know, he could cold approach them. He could online dating. Like, you know, he could have those two.
You think a girl with zero body count is on Tinder? That's delusional. I don't think they are. Really?
Potentially.
I don't know. Maybe in the UK, I don't think they would here. It's strictly like a hookup app. I don't know what it's like over there. Maybe it's more like to meet people, but not in the US. It's to fuck. So I wanted to ask you another question. I'll end with this one because it's a funny one. But what's the difference between, or you tell me, would you rather same girl except one, she has fucked one dude, but she's fucked this dude every day since she was 14. She's now 18. Okay. Every day. He's got a huge dick. Or the girl that has a body count of 3, but the guy had a micro dick.
All 3 had a micro dick.
She dated 3 people, but he had a micro dick. They didn't fuck as often. You know what I'm trying to get at?
Okay, yeah. I'd probably say the second one.
Yeah, me too. If I was yeah. So I don't know. I just wanted to end with that. Thanks, Sweet Waffles, for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'll see you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, my dog has been crying nonstop. So did I get to everybody's super chat? No. I'd like to ask him more about gingers. Because that shit's brutal. They do studies on this shit with PubMed. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's so many stereotypes on gingers that they follow like the age of middle school or some shit all the way to your adulthood and how it affects your self-esteem. I had poor self-esteem for years. So I'm just curious. I think redhead men are the hottest. I prefer them. Josh Homme's hot as fuck. But yeah. Anyways, justice for the short kings. If anybody sees a Chad, okay, and you have an Instagram, tag me at torshaa, 2 A's, and I want to see this. I want you guys take pictures of men secretly being like, Torrie, this is a Chad, and I will be the fucking judge. Because I'm sick and tired of men telling me what I would like to fuck. No offense, sweet waffles, okay? Like the video, comment, subscribe. Okay, bye.